Hi, Misha here, and welcome back to my black box. It's been a while since I've done one of these videos. A couple of you asked me to do them, but I tell you, this summer hasn't left me with a lot of free personal time, and when I've had it, I haven't been terribly inspired for these types of videos. And this is one I've wanted to do, but you know, you gotta cover the whole flat earth thing, but it's been covered to death and death and death at every which angle with people on both sides. So what's a new angle? Well, I want to talk about the flat earth conspiracy. So kind of stepping back, trying to see the forest instead of the trees. Well, what I mean by that is, what I notice with all this, you watch all the and opponents of this quote-unquote theory, which is really the insult of the word theory. It's more of a mental exercise at best. And it's circular. The same topics keep getting brought up over and over by the pro-flat earth people. Sometimes they'll change a word here or a word there, but it's the same quote-unquote evidence, which is not tested or verified, so yeah. And then, of course, the refutation is the same. And then, of course, there's name-calling, which just isn't really my style, you know. And then it starts over and over again. And there are definitely believers on both sides that are sincere. But I've noticed something else. People at the top on both sides, even if they're not making money off of this, some of them probably are, but probably not worth the operating cost. Trust me, YouTube stuff, even a very amateurish one like our channel Mishaco and this one here, it takes more time. Well, if you've done a video, you get it. It does. It takes a lot of time and mental energy. So to do, some of these channels put out videos once, twice a day. Some of them live stream for 2-3 hours. It is work. So yeah, money for work is perfectly fair. That's a career. The thing is, once you get used to a career, even a part-time job, you don't want it to go away. And this is on both sides of the fence. So they are basically feeding each other. It's the snake eating its own tail. They're regurgitating the same proofs, quote unquote, and then of course the same refutations. And why? Because it gets them notoriety. And we definitely live in a time where, yeah, money is very important, but also there's a certain fame. And of course we live in a time of Facebook and YouTube here where subs and followers and likes and I don't know, winks, smiley faces, tickles, butt rubs. I don't know what all the freaking emojis are. I can't see any of them, so I don't know what you kids play with. For all I know, there's a molesting a frog emoji. There is, right? I'm sure. Okay, how about this? Is there an emoji of dynamiting a domino piece? If not, get on it. Anyway, so it reminds me a lot of the 19th century, the P.T. Barnum situation, where you have quote-unquote freaks, where people would be naturally either deformed or deformed through accident, or just have these bizarre talents, and then of course they would exacerbate it for the circus or freak shows or whatever, you know. And you know, the salesmen like Barnum, they knew what they were doing. It was a gimmick. And to be fair, most of the crowds did too. There were non-believers that didn't want anything to do with it. There were those who truly believed. And there was the middle group that probably knew it was a hoax, but didn't want to look too closely because it was fun. And really, I can even say, for example, quote-unquote professional wrestling is like that. You know, you have a few that believe it's real, and many that know it's not, but still appreciate it, and a few that have nothing to do with it, like myself. But I That's kind of where we're at here with this. It's just, there's no new data, there's no new info. Whenever new videos pop up, there's really actually no new content. It's just recycling the same thing. It's almost like a closed system. Maybe if they ever do like a biodome type thing. Hey, there you go. For Mars, when we colonize Mars, which is a round planet like Earth, we could just put like flat earthers and globe earthers in there, and they'll just kind of like cycle the whole system, you know, keep it going. But it's an interesting time we live in now. It's very much pseudo-intellectualism. People read something online, sometimes not even the full story, sometimes just the first paragraph, and maybe even just more or less the headline, and they just take it as a given that it's true. The concept that it could just be totally made up, totally bullshit, is almost unimaginable to them. And what's funny is, this is only true for preconceived notions for the biases we already hold. So if we read an article, if a YouTuber says something we already agree with, we're just going to take whatever they say at face value. We're not going to look too deep, much like those crowds for P.T. Barnum, because we don't want to know. And then, of course, the opposite's true. If you don't believe in a position, you're just going to automatically dismiss any evidence that doesn't support, or even worse, directly contradicts your preconceived notions. And really, this is what flat Earth people do. Of course, you know, the fallback is always, it's a conspiracy, it's a government thing. You know, oh, you can't trust NASA, you can't trust the government. You know, whatever they say is lies. So if it's a peer-reviewed book that disagrees with them, that's really literally gone through thousands of people and hasn't been publicly debunked, or if people in the government, which consists of tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands if you count contractors, you know, say something, but it doesn't support it. Oh, it's lying, it's a giant conspiracy. But if like 3 people on YouTube run a very basic experiment in their backyard, and that experiment supports what you already want to believe, think of the whole moonlight thing, which is just weird. But, oh, well then, yeah, well that's obviously true, because we're seeing it. It's funny how they always say, you know, do the work for yourself, see for yourself. But it's only true if what you're seeing, they'll take second-hand and third-hand and fifth-hand information if it supports them, but they won't even take first-hand information if it doesn't. You could put them in a rocket, launch them up, and they just say it's a screen, and they come out with something on the floating weightlessness in space, too. And guess what, guys, flat earthers? You yourselves are part of a conspiracy, because you are feeding in to the globe earther people. You give them stuff to talk about, and you know it. And they know it. Now, I'm sure some of you are sincere. I'm also very sure some of you are trolls, because the internet loves to troll people. I gotta confess, back in the days, I've been on the internet since '93. Yeah, I'm old. I did used to kind of like to mess with people in chat rooms and stuff too. I get it. It's as long as the trolling is just for fun, you know, hey, whatever, you know. But I get it. It's kind of fun as long as you're not, but you know, being aggressive, being outright belligerent to people, telling people to go kill themselves or stuff like that. I mean, that doesn't offend me. I just think it's silly. I mean, we're human beings. We're capable of so much more. If you want to act like a 2.5-year-old, that's your business. Just know you're embarrassing yourself. But yeah, it's interesting. On the globe Earth side, I think sometimes they do get your goat, because some of you really do lose your temper and start screaming at them, and that's exactly what they want. They're having fun. Some of you remain very respectful and scientific, and that's still interesting, but I can only watch the same silly flat earth theory be disproved so many times before even that loses interest. And I'll check in occasionally, and there's really no new info. And the flat earth is just about the worst of this. You know, at least with the UFO stuff, there's once in a while a new sighting, or Bigfoot, there's once in a while a new case. It's a trickle of what's coming in, but there is new info. With the flat earth, along with, you know, the mud flood stuff and all that really too, it's just the same old boring stuff that's been refuted time and time again, over and over and over. On the other hand, I have started listening to such videos when I'm trying to go to sleep, because they work better than Ambien, and they do cause a headache, but at least they don't cause drowsiness the next day. So your call, which is, you know. But I think the society we live in today is very interesting. At times it's terrifying, at times it's very enlightening, but it's really not new. It's different, but humans have always had this herd mob mentality, and humans have always been willing to be duped. And as long as they're in on that, that's fine. I have to confess, I have a little bit of a thing for UFO stuff, and I find that interesting. I would rather it be true. Now, I do my best when there's good evidence that it's not to admit it, but I find that entertaining. I don't find the flat earth stuff as entertaining, because I see it as degenerate. I see it as regressive. I don't see any scientific value in trying to simplify our world. We live on a giant planet that is infinitely complex, with so much going on. Orbital mechanics are not simple, especially when you have as many bodies moving around the sun as we do. And that's another thing too. I don't understand how people don't get how relative motion and movement and gravity work. Like the idea that, if you just take a plane going straight, you go into space. Like, are you stupid? Because it's a matter of perspective. You can't say, you're going in a straight line. Are you? Relative to what? You really can't judge what you're doing, your motion, your direction, your speed, unless you have at least another point of reference. There's no absolute up in the universe. There's no absolute down. There's no absolute east, west, north, south. You get it. It's all relative as compared to something else. Again, it's pretty self-evident. I do agree with the notion that some flat earth people just have a lack of imagination. They don't comprehend scale. They don't comprehend how small they are. And that's not to say bad. We're neither the smallest or the largest things in the universe. We're just in there. There's organisms infinitely smaller than us, and there's probably organisms out there somewhere infinitely larger than us. We're just here. That's it. I don't need to be the biggest thing. And that kind of brings me to my final point, religion. Just don't bring religion into it. If you have religion for your spiritual welfare, that's fine. That's your prerogative. But religion is nothing to do with science, to do with research, anything like that. The Bible's a huge book. If you cut and paste bits of it, you can make it say anything you want. How do I know this? I've read the thing cover to cover at least 6 times, front to back. Growing up, my mother read the Bible every morning. Whatever she had time for. Sometimes a few pages, sometimes more. So I thought that was normal. So I read it. It was only later in life I realized that most people that go to church, most people that are religious, never just sit down and read their holy book from Genesis to Revelations, or the Quran, or the Torah, whatever that might be, the Bhagavad Gita, whatever, Kama Sutra, if that's your bag. When you read it front to back, the perspective is much different than when you just sit in a bench and someone cherry picks little verses to make a sermon. I know this too, because once upon a time I was very much into the church and I made sermons. I know how that works. And it's not even being duplicitous. It's just, okay, if you have a point to make, whatever it is, don't eat hot nachos or something. You can find things to back yourself up, and that's what you do. I mean, the law is that way too. But the thing is, the Bible is a chronicle. It's a story. There's a beginning, a middle, and an end. Literally, you have Genesis and Revelations. One is the beginning of the world, one's the end. If you take that out of context, you lose a lot. There's really nothing in there about Earth being flat or globe. They didn't know. The technology of the day when that book was written, or rather spoken and then later written down and then translated, they didn't know. At least the people that did it. And it wasn't relevant to them if they did know. That book isn't about this world. It's not about science. It doesn't have medical cure-alls in it. It's about spirituality. So, don't go looking to the Bible to tell you the earth is flat or round. And if you do, be fair, be honest, and also go looking to the Bible for the chemical recipe for, say, quinine or aspirin. Because if you think it has enough scientific value to tell you what world you live on in a physical realm, then it should also have medical value, correct? If you're going to do it, be honest with yourself. Be objective. Don't have a double standard. That's all I ask. So anyway, that's just kind of my random thoughts on a Saturday afternoon while I do laundry here. I'll try to make these more as the weather gets better, and hopefully life will calm down here soon. It needs to, because I am sure worn out, guys. But yeah, I'll keep doing the model videos because those are kind of easy and I find them very cathartic. But I'll try to do more of these, also a few more gun things, and just, some other random stuff. Maybe, random cat videos again. But yeah, appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't, you might check out the other couple of videos like this I've done. And if you have, just stay tuned. I'll try to put up another couple every week or two. Any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you disagree with me, that's cool. I'll ask as you just be, respectful and constructive, and we can have a very pleasant debate. Oh, that's something else I miss. I miss debating. I like debating. But today you can't, let's say, talk politics with someone without someone getting heated and upset like it's a personal attack. And of course not. You may like Trump. You may like Obama. You may like Hillary. You may have been a Bush fan. Whatever. We can argue about it one way or the other. It's nothing personal. I just find it's fun because it's kind of like sharpening your wits, I don't know. I find debate fun, but I also kind of take it very impersonally. So I kind of miss that people used to do that, and now everyone gets so tied up. Ooh, ice cream truck. Seriously, there's an ice cream truck going down the street right now. Alrighty, guys. This is Misha, and I'll catch you very soon. Next time.